Okay. Welcome.
Yay.
Hi. We just were together this morning. It just feels like old
So
friends.
much fun. Yeah, like double mint gum. Double the
Mhm.
fun.
Mhm. Double the pleasure for our day. Welcome to Authentic as we just were together this morning. Oh no. Like let me see what I can do here.
Much fun. Yeah, like double mint gum. Double the fun.
Yeah, let me try to see what I can do with this. Okay, great. All right. I think I figured it out. Technology. Yay. I'm Christy Bemis, and I'm here with Authentic as Fuck, and I'm here with my special guest, Lisa Robb. We were together. I referenced this morning. We did a blog talk radio, so I'll make sure I link that in the spot below, where you can find all of the talk that we did. We talked about perfectionism. We talked about running, the 12-minute turtle. We talked about, what support we can give and get as women. So I had a great morning with you, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Lisa Robb.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so happy to be here too. This morning, we got to talk a lot about the 12-minute turtles. And today, with being authentic, and that is such a huge value of mine. So one, I will say a little bit about myself by sharing how I've shown up authentically, which is following what was really important to me. So I started my career as a kindergarten teacher. And then I went from teaching kindergarten to doing pharmaceutical sales, which is probably a non-conventional route.
Yeah.
And then I went from pharmaceutical sales to becoming a life coach and running coach and speaker. So it's definitely an unconventional path, but it was something that I followed that was just all true to what made me feel like I came alive and that I was, that I had purpose in my life. So that I'm so excited to be talking about authenticity with you today.
Yeah. If you had to give your definition of what is authenticity, what would it be?
It would be unapologetically, I think that's really key, unapologetically showing up as who we want to be.
Yeah. And the unapologetic, what is that about for you?
Because, well, I spent a lot of my life trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we are not designed to fit in. None of us. Like, we're not designed to fit in. We're designed to stand out and come together. It's a very big difference than fitting in and trying to like mold ourselves. We're designed to stand out, but then come together. And so that's what being unapologetic means, being really who you were born to be and bringing all of your strengths and experiences and quirks to the table. And when you do that, like, we all have more resources, right? It's so great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that, because I'm a big believer in unapologetic, and I created like wisdom cards last year. And one of them is unapologetic living. And so I agree. Like, we spend so much of our lives, I think, in our teen years as women and into our 20s and maybe even 30s, 40s. And we're like trying to fit in, to have a sense of belongingness and not feel alone or not be unique. And then I think there reaches a point in our life as women where we're just like, this is too hard, because it is what my uniqueness or even my imperfections that make me who I am. And so please, take all of me.
Yeah.
And
what a different sense of belonging you get when you show up imperfectly and then you're accepted. Instead of trying to fit in and you're accepted, it's a completely different experience to show up imperfectly and to be accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of that concept of WabiSabi,
I don't know
where,
that. No.
yeah, so it's pottery, Asian pottery, where
Mm,
they take the cracks that are in the pottery, and instead of throwing the piece out, they put gold
they fill
and
it with
fill
gold. Yeah.
gold in the piece, and then the lights in the gallery are highlighting those imperfections as the uniqueness of that
Yeah.
pottery. And
Yeah.
so when we can love ourselves because of our uniqueness,
Yep.
because of our freakness,
Yeah.
when we can really embrace that, that's true, authentic love. So it's wabi
Yes.
sabi love. I love that
Yes.
concept. Hmm.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What are some of the, do you think as a woman, what are some of the barriers that, oh, I hear you're peppy.
Well, yeah,
Oh, you,
There's Poppy.
hi.
She's protecting us
Oh,
here from a
very
bird or a
much.
squirrel or something
I
outside the
love
patio
that.
door.
Yeah. I was sharing before we even started recording, I have my son's dog. So you're going to end up hearing her like whining and whimpering in the back, which just makes us real, like who we
Yes.
are and what we do in our life as women.
Yes.
What are some of the things in your life that you feel have been barriers to living authentically? For example, I know for me, I did really try hard to fit in. Like it was so sad at times in my life when I didn't, or when I was bullied, or when I wasn't accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, for me as a woman, I try to love and accept and honor other women in my life for all of like who they are, accept all of like who they are, even the times
Yes.
where they make mistakes or hurt me or imperfections.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the barriers, do you think, to your own authenticity at times in your life?
Two words came up when you were saying that. The first one is um, judgment, right? It's when and I think we are always our harshest judge. And it's really hard to be authentic when you're judging yourself for the way you are, or what you look like, what you should look like. Should is a huge red flag. Like we talked a little bit about that this morning.
Yeah, we did.
But when we throw out the I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should look like this, I should weigh this much, like all of those things. I should be doing this faster. I should be further along by now. Like all of this judgment makes it really hard to show up authentically. And then the other part to that is just what we talked about already, is fitting in. The more you try to fit in, the more authentic living slips away from you. So it took me a really long time to get comfortable enough with myself and to let go of that judgment and to have more self-compassion. And I think for many women, it's so easy for us to be really good friends to people, but we do not turn that same friendship towards ourselves and that same self-compassion towards ourselves. And once we can do that, I feel like stepping into authenticity is natural.
Yeah.
Because you can be okay if you make a mistake or you screw up or you're a little different, right?
Yeah. Self-talk is so important. And, a lot of times when I'm working with a woman, I say the things that you're saying in your head right now to yourself, would you ever even remotely consider turning to anybody in your life and saying those same words? And how can we become our own best friend versus our worst enemy or our hardest critic? And earlier today in the Block Talk program, you talked about the metaphor around running and how it's done more than just like health benefits, but mindset benefits around perfection and just taking one step forward. And what has it taught you even further, like about authenticity? And then I want to move into Rattle Your Routine, the innovative approach that you're going to talk to us about, mastering our mindset and maximizing possibilities. But
Yes.
what is running as a metaphor for you taught you about your own authenticity?
Yeah. Well, with running, the first thing is running has taught me that I can do hard things, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at running as the hard thing, and then you think, well, what do you have to do in order to be a successful runner? In order to cross that finish line, what do you have to do? Well, most importantly, show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I talk to my coaching clients with. Like when they're like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be successful. Like, oh, that is actually, that's a possibility. Like, what would you have to do to make, for example, $0? What would you have to do? Nothing. Can you do that? Can you do nothing? Yeah. Okay. What is the likelihood that you're going to do nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Not very high, right? So the metaphor with running is, first of all, show up, do something, and then keep putting one foot in front of the other. With running, sometimes you trip. I've sprained my ankle before. I've stepped off a sidewalk. You don't just stay down there. I'd still be out there, right?
Right.
You have to get up. You might have to go get an x-ray, right? But then you keep showing up again. The point with running is that you show up over and over, you put one foot in front of the other, and then you celebrate like hell when you get to the finish line.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And for those just meeting you for the first time, Lisa runs 12-minute turtle, which I joined because I'm going to run a half marathon, which, you know, when you privately declare it, it's one thing. And then when you go public with it, it's a real other seriousness. So follow the journey of like what happens here.
Yeah.
And also Raining Glitter Coaching, when she's referencing some of the coaching, you can find her at Raining Glitter Coaching as well. What I was writing was, for me, doing nothing takes way more effort than doing something. Like there's effort in doing nothing. And I talk about that, like when I was working with kids and stuff, when they were getting like an F in their class, I'm like, the amount of work that it takes you to get that F, if you just turned it a little bit and put the energy to like a little bit, you'd have a C probably, because it takes a lot of effort to like do nothing, to just give up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a different kind of effort, but it's still energy. It's just
energy
in the wrong place.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the rattle routine? I would love to hear a little bit from
routine.
you on what you work with some of your clients when you coach.
Okay. So first of all, probably the most powerful thing that blew me away when I went through my coaching program at UW-Madison, I remember sitting in class the very first day of our class. And when they talked about coaching, how the client is the expert of their own life. And I was literally like leaning back in my chair, like, oh my God, because a lot of us grew up being told what to do, following the rules, right? And doing what's expected of you.
For sure.
And so when somebody works with you, when somebody works with me, it's an opportunity for them to show up as the expert. And if you want something different, you have to be able to do something different or change your mindset around something different. So that's the rattle your routine part. And the tool that I think is one of the most powerful tools is exploring perspective. And the reason that that's important is because before I went through this coaching program, I really believed, Christy, that my thoughts were the truth. That what I thought about something, I thought that was just the truth. That's how it is. Move on and on to the next thing. And when I learned about this tool of exploring perspectives, I was like, well, this is a game changer, because exploring perspectives gives you the opportunity to choose, which puts you in the driver's seat. Whenever we have choice, it's a very, very powerful thing. So an example that I just wrote about in my newsletter was, I am in a kickboxing gym. I belong to a kickboxing gym.
Good for you.
Yep. And I love it. I love the community. It's Farrell's, FXB, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping or something like that in Madison. It is fantastic. So I started going to this gym this past summer, and I just noticed that I have in my kickboxing glove right on the side, the seam is tearing. in my kickboxing glove. Okay. So that is just a fact, right? The seam is tearing. What is the story that I tell myself about that seam tearing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's what I tell myself. Girl, you are a badass. These kickboxing gloves, like you're punching the shit out of this. Is it okay that I swore? Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Like, yes, you are a badass. Like you are punching that like so hard that you're literally busting the seams of your gloves. Right. Now, what does that story do for me? That is very motivating. That is positive reinforcement, right? I'm going to keep going to the gym because I'm a badass. Awesome. Now let's look at the seam. I could tell myself a different story, right? There's still a seam that's ripped in the side of my glove. I could choose to say, well, these are some cheap gloves. These are falling apart. What a waste of money. Okay. What do I believe about that story? Like, do you feel the different energy?
Yeah, it's just the power of our narrative, the power of our story, the power of what we tell ourselves. And that yeah.
Think about that. That is mind-blowing. The truth is the seam ripped. Great. We all have our truth, right? But what we tell ourselves about that fact makes all the difference in the world. And the problem comes in when we start to believe our interpretation or our story as the truth instead of just looking at the seam. And so that is what is so valuable about working with someone like you, about working with a life coach, is somebody gets to point out your blind spots. Like, that's one perspective. Would you be open to exploring others? And sometimes that is like a huge change right there in the story you choose to believe.
I love that. And Byron Katie, I don't know if you're familiar with her work, but she talks a lot about like the unquestioned thought or the unquestioned truth that you tell yourself, or the unquestioned belief is crazy. Like that's what creates crazy. And it's true when you believe something about yourself, or like your limits, or like what's possible for your relationship, or like what's possible for your life. When you do that, your actions are dominoes, like it follows. So if you can change your truth, if you can change your belief and your perspective around what it is you're telling yourself, how powerful that can be in your life.
Stories are super powerful. And that's actually why I work with my own coach. Even though I'm a coach, I have my own coach, because I still tell myself stories that I sometimes think are true. And I love getting that pushback on, really? Right? And sometimes we look at like the worst case scenario and forget to look at the best case scenario. And it's just really helpful to have somebody there pushing you to explore perspectives and then open up the power of choice.
Right. And it's not like it's a blow sunshine up your butt kind of like, just be positive. This like is work. This is work to, and I call it like it's reappraisal. It's not just be positive. It's like reappraising something and gathering evidence that can support the alternative. What if the best possible outcome happens? What if the best case scenario occurs? That's possible, right? What if?
Yeah. And it's also like exploring perspectives doesn't always have to be choosing the best case scenario, right? Oftentimes with running, we talked a little bit about this. I let people know finish lines are not guaranteed. They're not guaranteed. And so knowing that, like, what the worst case scenario is that you'd get injured, probably, right? Because your health is like so valuable. I don't want anybody to get injured.
Right.
But there's also things that come up, like maybe not injury. Maybe you just get sick the day before. Maybe you get food poisoning. I mean, these things happen. We're talking worst case scenarios. But then if we're going to explore that, like what's the best case scenario? Maybe not only do you finish, but you get a personal best time, right? Maybe you have the best energy that you've ever felt and feel really good after the race. So exploring those perspectives of like, not just like only the sunshiny thing,
Mm-hmm.
but the other thing, and then choosing, right?
Right.
Okay, we know that we could get injured. What are some things that we can do proactively to prevent that, right? And hopefully we do, because
Mm-hmm.
we've been so thoughtful about the process.
Yeah. And I think the race, like we're going to be racing in Montana in June. Um, should it even be called race? Like the jog, the jog, the half marathon jog for me is in June. Um, and even just like the journey to get there, like it reminds me how I'm feeling right now regarding running again 3 to 4 times a week or more. Reminds me of how I felt when I went to go get my master's degree back when my son was like 3 years old. He's now 20, I'm going to get it wrong, 25, 26. Um, the eye on the prize was imagining myself when I was driving all the way, 3 hours away to go to school once, sometimes twice a week, and taking a cut and pay during that time, all those things. I would imagine the end goal, the cap, the gown, the tassel. Like I would imagine that in my mind, and walking across the stage, like that celebration of showing up for my graduation was super important for me. And I did breastfeeding my daughter with my under my gown. I did celebrate my graduation, but the graduation itself wasn't it. The journey, did I enjoy the journey along the way? I loved being in school. I loved
Yeah.
every piece and part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I love the journey, like the run in Montana is important to me, and I'm thinking about it. It's definitely like something that I'm visualizing in my mind of like imagining what it's going to be like, and what the weather's going to be like, and the friends that I'll meet, and just pushing myself, in that moment of what can my body at 51 do, but it's the journey too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's so true, because the things that you try to do, the things that you attempt to do on your journey, like all of those things, no one is going to take away from you. Like the run where you're running with someone and they're like, wow, I can tell a big difference, like in how you're doing. Awesome. Like you are going to remember that. When
Mhm.
everyone says to me, when it comes to running in particular, isn't it time consuming? Doesn't it take a lot of time away from your family? Right. And then I flash to, can I just flash my computer here?
Yeah.
I flash to my medals that are hanging there.
Yay.
And I think, what do I contribute when my daughter sees that I've finished 12 marathons? Right? What am I contributing to my daughter
Yeah.
when I show her that we can do hard things? Right?
Mhm.
Instead of just being at home. And there's nothing wrong with being at home, but the
Right.
point is, like, it's a trade-off. What is most important to you? How are you showing up? What are you collecting along the way
Mhm.
that is filling you up and
Right.
making you
And
feel
and
really
for
good?
you it's a marathon. For any other woman watching, it can be anything. Fill in the blank. I
Anything.
shared about my master's program, like,
Yep.
it can be anything.
Anything.
Running is your choice and desire. And I know my Apple Watch is synced to my daughter's Apple Watch, who's now 19. Tomorrow is her birthday.
Yay.
And that syncing, every time I do a run, she gets a notice, like, and she's sending me a text saying, I'm so proud of you,
Yeah.
but also like, you can do hard things too, hon. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to just tell you how to live your life. I'm actually going to show you as a woman
Yes.
how an ignited woman who's
Mhm.
authentic is living her life.
Yes. Christy, I have goosebumps. That gives me goosebumps, because not only are you showing her, but you're showing me, you're showing all of us, like, this is what it looks like to fully show up.
Yeah,
And it gives other people the permission to do the same thing when you model
I hope
that, like,
so.
this is possible. So exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And that you can do hard things, because it's not easy putting on my shoes when it's 2 degrees out. It
Nope.
is not easy.
Not at
Completing a
all.
3 mile run right as a blizzard's blowing through. I can see it. Like, it's not that
Yeah.
easy. And it's important.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then who are you surrounding yourself with? That's a really important thing. And it's not just like we talked before, who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? That's a part of it.
For
But
sure.
what are you consuming? Right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what are you reading? What are you listening to? Hopefully if they're listening to something like this, they're leaving energized and inspired to do more that's aligned with their own version of authenticity on their
Mm-hmm.
terms, right? So it's surrounding yourself with amazing people. Some of them you meet, some of them might be on social media. If every time you go onto social media, you're feeling bad about yourself, maybe
Mm.
you're following the wrong people, right? That's something to think about. Are you consuming uh, inspirational messages when you open up your social media? Follow
Mm-hmm.
Hot Pink University. That'll inspire you, right?
Yeah,
Like
I
you
hope
have to
so.
have the right things in your inbox.
Mm-hmm.
That's key.
Yeah, and it was interesting. One of the things I was thinking about when you said some of the people are like, isn't that a lot of time away from like your family and other people when you're doing this, running and things like that. But I think about time, money, and energy are our biggest commodities.
Mm-hmm.
And those same people that might be asking, you're taking time away because it does take time to run,
Mm-hmm.
3 miles once a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those same people that might be asking that, what are you indeed spending your time, money, and energy on though?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going somewhere. And a lot of the same people that might be saying that it's going towards Netflix binging, which I am not dissing that because I am a great Netflix binger. Like I could be pro some days at it. But I'm just saying, like, we're choosing to spend our time, our money, and our energy on something. What
Mm-hmm.
is it for you?
Yeah.
And where is the um you know flow going, and is
Uh-huh.
it going in the right direction, or are
Mm-hmm.
there holes that your time, money, and energy are falling through, and you
Yeah.
need to like stop those holes and
Mm-hmm.
establish better routines. And I love the the talk that you have, which is the routine piece in it, because I'm a true believer in routines.
Yeah.
Routines are super important for living an authentic life.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Can I
what
share one of the
routines?
most
Yeah,
valuable tools that I've been using
absolutely.
personally when it comes to a routine? I read a book called The Soul Sourced Entrepreneur by
Okay.
Christine Kane. I really enjoyed that book, and she offered something called the Sunday Summit, which basically is a check in with yourself on the weekend about what did you accomplish, which I am a huge, huge fan about
Yeah.
celebrating what we've done. And so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't necessarily mean like what boxes did you check, but it's like, what did you accomplish? What did you learn? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are some good things that happened? Right? It's all of those things like celebrating. And then she has all different thoughts that help you reflect on the week. And I think that is a huge game changer. If you can have some kind of a routine once a week to check
Mm-hmm.
in with yourself, what felt really good this week?
Yep.
Where did I feel overwhelmed? Is there anything I can do about this? What is this feeling maybe trying to teach me? Do I have something
Mm-hmm.
to learn here? Do I feel like something is missing? Do I feel like I'm on autopilot? Am I really super excited about, like, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
I really think that if we did a better job with checking in with ourselves on a regular basis, it would help us live a much more authentic life.
I totally agree. I call it Sunday reset.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a routine from the moment I get out of bed to around noon, and I
Uh-huh.
have that luxury now because honestly, my kids are adults. So I get like not everybody has like a whole, Sunday morning to themselves, but where can you carve even, you know, an hour of time for yourself at some point? And it doesn't have to be Sunday. It can be another day of the week that somebody maybe is going to dance or
Yep.
soccer and you're not like in charge of like anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's super valuable to do a personal check-in for
Mhm.
sure.
What I like is I have goals for myself Monday through Friday, different
Mhm.
things that I want to get done. And then if I finish those goals on Friday, I might do the Sunday summit. I might do it on Friday night. But then I kind of feel like I have 2 bonus days to just get a little bit more if I didn't get everything done that I wanted to.
Yeah.
So that's why I like Sunday, but you're completely right. Like it does not have to be a certain day of the week. It's more the routine of checking in with yourself. That's really
Yeah.
key.
And for me, when I had littles at home, it was Fridays. Fridays were
Mhm.
like a day I didn't go into work, or I worked only till noon or something. I tried to modify my life so that I had some like substance instead
Yeah.
of grinding away at 40 hours a week. Um, yeah, this is beautiful. And I have so enjoyed it. So if you didn't catch our Blog Talk Radio program, you can find it at Blog Talk Radio. Just look for Hot Pink University.
Yeah.
We had a great talk this morning around the 12-minute turtle, around running, around perfection, and just really golden nuggets out of that talk. And then moving into today, just the authenticity, your definition, I love it. And just the tools that you have provided for so many of the people that you've coached over the years. And now for us, I just am so appreciative of your time and your energy
Absolutely.
today that you've spent here with me and with anybody that's watching it. And thank you for showing up for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right back at you. I always appreciate your energy. I always feel like I learn something new or get something reinforced that I really wanted reinforced. So I count you as a blessing. And I'm
Oh,
so happy that you are one of the people that I surround myself with because you make me a better person. So thanks,
thank
Christy.
you. I feel the same. And I love hanging out with people that make me feel good about me. And so I
Yeah.
always feel really good about myself in your presence. And I'm
Yeah.
always inspired by just your positive attitude and like how badass you truly are. Like, totally. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Christy.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
find Lisa at 12-Minute Turtle and also Raining Glitter Coaching. I'll put the links in the description below. So thank you all for joining.
Yay.
I enjoyed my time today and I learned a lot. So welcome to this, and hopefully we'll see you on the next episode of Authentic AF.